Like most people, I have a fascination with lost media. I also have a fascination with edgy reboots of classic children's properties. I know a lot of people clown on them, but I think the idea of taking a pre-existing property and making your own is so interesting. And as someone who likes to write, I find it really fun and challenging to work within the confines of an established universe. I'm still waiting on my Scooby-Doo pilot to get greenlit. Obviously, not every edgy reboot of a children's property is successful. I genuinely love Riverdale, and it really is the reason that this is a trend in Hollywood, but most of these projects don't understand what makes Riverdale so successful. Riverdale is fun and campy and is made by people who have a genuine love of the source material, while a show like Fate the Winx Saga is just bad because it fundamentally misunderstands what is appealing about the source material. So let's talk about the Powerpuff Girls. In case you're unfamiliar, in 2020 it was announced that the CW was developing a live-action series based on the hit Cartoon Network series the Powerpuff Girls. I feel like most of you probably have some degree of familiarity with the Powerpuff Girls, but as a brief overview, it originally aired from 1998 to 2005 on Cartoon Network, and centered around three kindergarten-age sisters, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, who were created in a lab and have superpowers, which they use to fight crime, obviously. So the pilot was filmed in early 2021, and was seen as one of the more likely bets to get picked up. However, a couple months later, it was announced that the CW was not going to pick it up, and in fact, they were actually going to redevelop the script. Now, this is definitely a strange case, as most times when a pilot isn't picked up, that's it. But even before this happened, the Powerpuff Girls pilot had a lot of publicity around it. For starters, the concept turning the Powerpuff Girls into quote-unquote disillusioned 20-somethings is already pretty wild. And then this photo from the set leaked and was not well received. And in a truly unprecedented move, the CW actually released an official promo image of the three Powerpuff Girls, which certainly seemed like they were gearing up to pick it up. No, they actually weren't. As of this writing, the pilot is still technically in development, though Chloe Bennett, who played Blossom in the pilot, had to drop out shortly after the pilot wasn't picked up. And with all the changes coming to the CW in the wake of its new owner, frankly, I don't see this idea coming to fruition anytime soon, which is a shame to me because, like I said, I have a major fascination with this project. All that to say is I have a PDF copy of the Powerpuff Girls pilot script. Allegedly. The script leaked pretty close to around the time the pilot was formally passed. Allegedly. And while I have read it before, that was a couple years ago, and at this point it might as well be brand new. And since the next project I'm working on is pretty clip heavy, I thought I may as well turn this into content. So let's read the alleged failed Powerpuff Girls CW script together. Notably not involved is Powerpuff Girls creator Craig McCracken. Of course, reading a screenplay by yourself is monotonous, so to help with that, I have made some handy visual aids. I'm not really sure who's gonna show up in this outside of the main characters, so I'm just gonna wing it for some of these. Obviously I have the main three, Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup. I also have their dad, Professor Utonium. The mayor and Miss Bellum were like their main allies, so I have them in this. Of course, you can't have the Powerpuff Girls without Mojo Jojo. As a little surprise, I think it would be a lot of fun if Princess Morbucks showed up, so I have her here. And finally, I thought it would be truly hilarious if him showed up, so I am hoping and praying that I can use him. I also have wine too that I'm gonna be drinking through this because I feel like I'm gonna need it. But with that, let's just start reading this script, allegedly. Exterior. Big, blue, endless sky day. Once upon a time, in the early 2000s, there were three extraordinary sisters who were destined to save the world. Blossom Utonium, 7, soars up into frame. Blossom can fly effortlessly, even in the impractical pink dress she wears. Blossom was the leader, the go-getter, the goody-goody. Buttercup Utonium flies up next to her sister. She's a scrappy, scowling tomboy wearing a green dress. Buttercup was the tough one, the hard-ass if you'll pardon the idiom. Bubbles Utonium, in a blue dress, pigtails, and adorable smile, rises up beside Blossom, and Bubbles was the sweet, upbeat, and cheerful one, most of the time. Title: Powerpuff Girls. The three girls dip down together, diving towards a marauding three-headed Pegasus monster, big as a building, wreaking havoc on the city. We only see it briefly. Don't worry. Time to kick some beast. She bursts ahead of them, hooking swiftly around a welcome billboard that reads, "The City of Townsville, home of the Powerpuff Girls." It bears cartoon likenesses of the girls. All they do is fight the monster, and then they're cheered as heroes after they beat the monster. Nothing exciting. These three exceptional girls were not born, but created by the brilliant Professor Drake Utonium. Interior, Professor Utonium's lab, day. 1996, 7 years earlier. Drake Utonium, a debonair scientist in his 30s, toils in a lab surrounded by mysterious equipment and colorful compounds. There's an explosion of light, red, blue, and green, as new life blooms from a pipette. He's long dreamed of being a father, but his grandiosity prevented him from pursuing this goal in the usual manner. Drake didn't want children. He wanted. Drake lifts his tinted lab goggles off his face. Astonished. Phenomena. I think that's what that's supposed to say. Above him, in the magic-fogged air, we see the silhouettes of the hovering, newly made Powerpuff Girls. Drake turns to his gawky, cowering lab partner, Dr. Joseph Mojo Mondale. Mojo claps, though he looks a bit uncertain. Congrats, you did it. Interior, Professor Utonium's house, kitchen, evening. The girls, the professor, and the professor's girlfriend, Sarah Bellum, 30s, a redhead with kind eyes, enjoy a cozy, laughter-filled dinner. For years, all was well in the Utonium household. The sisters were the best of friends. Drake was a proud papa. His girlfriend, Sarah, had become like part of the family. Off this warm scene, we cut to exterior, First Bank of Townsville, dusk. A crowd cheering as the girls descend on villain Fuzzy Lumpkins and snatch bags of cash from his clutches. The girls were beloved heroes in Townsville, a city mysteriously besieged by villainous creatures and crooks. Where the police had failed, the Powerpuffs were triumphant. Everyone looks up as the Powerpuff Girls begin performing an adorable synchronized dance routine in mid-air. Drake turns to a news camera, filming the spectacle, pumping his fist. Girl power. Interior, Joseph Mojo Mondale's house. Dr. Joseph Mojo Mondale was not so delighted with the Powerpuff Girls. He resented their celebrity, especially since he'd helped Drake discover Chemical X, the mutagenic substance that gave the girls their powers. But Drake, wrapped up in the limelight, seemed to have forgotten about their decade-long partnership. He'd hoped to use the chemical to gain powers himself, powers he'd use for good. But what would it be now? Mojo wasn't cute. He didn't have sugar, or spice, or anything nice. He was just a plain old boring man. A boy runs up from behind, nose pressed against the glass. This is Mojo's son, Jojo. Let's use this. Dad, were those the Powerpuff Girls? I wish I could fly. They're all so cool, especially Blossom. Interior, Professor Utonium's house, day. The girls and Drake watch a live news broadcast. Mojo stands at a podium at a televised rally. The chyron underneath reads, "Concerned scientist holds anti-Powerpuff rally." I worked with the professor for years. Believe me when I tell you, he's power-hungry and duplicitous. He stole Chemical X from me. I know the Powerpuffs are protecting us from monsters, but who will protect us from the Powerpuff Girls? The girls had a national fan club, licensed merch, even their own cartoon. But Mojo wasn't their only enemy. They're about to face an evil far more formidable, a force that's defeated innumerable gifted children. Puberty. 2013, a siren blares. Buttercup, Bubbles, and Blossom, now teenagers, shuffle out the front door, suited for combat in their iconic dresses. They look sullen and reluctant. Bubbles, in quotes, sunglasses, hungover. Are we fighting Swampy again? Who has the brief? Bubbles, where are your pigtails? You have to stick to the character Bible. She's not a character, Drake. I know that, which is why I've allowed her to select 2 outside friends and unlimited after homeschool activities. Buttercup, I don't appreciate the look on your face right now. Can you blame her? She's 17 and she's up at the butt crack of dawn to fight a talking swamp. Sarah, as always, I appreciate your concern for my family, but you're not part of it. Guys, we have to go. Townsville needs us. Blossom takes off into the sky. The other girls follow suit reluctantly. Sarah stares at Drake hurt, turns and walks away. Exterior, city of Townsville, day. Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup battle Swampy. It's way more effortful than it should be, when suddenly a laser beam grazes Swampy and almost hits Blossom. Reveal a giant robot being operated by Mojo, a lab monkey by his side. Oh no. Mojo's voice bellows from a megaphone. Stop the Powerpuff Girls. In Mojo's lab, a now teenage JoJo co-pilots his father via a control panel monitor. He's holding a Blossom action figure. Easy on Blossom, remember? I got this, JoJo. Mojo blasts another laser at Swampy, hitting him in the arm and the building behind him. Concrete debris rains down. Blossom catches the falling pieces in both arms, looking to her sisters for help. But hungover Bubbles can barely handle Swampy, and Buttercup's fighting with protesters. Desperate, Blossom kicks a third piece of debris out of the air, but it ricochets a lamppost, exploding into fragments. Mojo's robot is riddled with shrapnel as it falls to the ground. JoJo is speechless, his eyes water. Dad? Like Simba in The Lion King. Above the robot, Blossom sees blood on the inside panel. Blossom and Buttercup join her. Blossom begins to hyperventilate, having a full-blown panic attack. Oh my god. The Powerpuff Girls actually killed Mojo Jojo. That is so funny. No notes. 10 out of 10. In the wake of Mojo's death, a once fringe group of anti-Powerpuff Girls activists have gained massive popularity in Townsville. Their goal? To banish the Powerpuff Girls. The news cuts to footage of the mayor holding a press conference surrounded by angry anti-Powerpuff protesters. Due to public safety concerns, the Powerpuff Girls have been outlawed from fighting in Townsville. Bubbles and Buttercup watch on TV under a blanket together. I'd better check on Blossom. Buttercup enters Blossom's room. Bloss? The bed is empty and made. Empty drawers are open. See a tear-stained Blossom flying fast as she can through an overcast sky, a suitcase strapped to her back. A now furious Buttercup bursts angrily out to the front door and is immediately swarmed by news cameras. Bleep you all and bleep Townsville. The Powerpuff Girls are done. And I'm being 100% serious. It literally says bleep right there in the script. Exterior house. Day. Smoke billows from the first floor of a house. After Blossom ran away to build a new life for herself, Buttercup and Bubbles followed suit. Enraged by the ignoble end of the PPGs, Buttercup sought anonymity. She moved to a small town in Oregon, shortened her name to B, and joined the fire department. Exterior, Hollywood Boulevard, night. Close up on license plate. Bubbles 1, affixed to a baby blue Corvette. Adult Bubbles, still wearing her signature pigtails, pops the trunk. It's full of Powerpuff Girls merch and a price list. Selfies $20, t-shirts $30, selfie and shirt $45. Bubbles went to Hollywood, hoping to capitalize on what fame she had left. After 2 stints in rehab and 3 failed reality show pilots, she pivoted to direct sales. Bubbles announces herself to a pack of passing tourists. I'm Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, the real Bubbles, unlike that Bobo knockoff Wonder Woman. Fake Wonder Woman, who looks really fake, turns and sticks her tongue out at Bubbles as the tourists flock to her. Interior, college lecture hall, day. Blossom sits in a lecture hall, taking notes. As for Blossom, she attended an elite women's college in the Northeast, collecting degrees to cocoon herself from the harsh sting of the real world. It was effective. And this is now in 2021. Interior, Blossom's apartment, morning. Blossom joins her adorable boyfriend, Clive, for breakfast. Clive wears a birthday hat. As Blossom enters the kitchen, he slips a happy birthday tiara on her head and grins. This morning, they're celebrating her 25th birthday, which is technically tomorrow, but tomorrow Blossom has some out-of-state business to attend to. We do learn that Blossom, and I'm assuming the other two as well, are going back to Townsville to receive their trust fund. This is, I think, Blossom's first time seeing the two in years, and the other two are like close, but she's not as close with them, understandably. Exterior, government building, day. Oh no, this is JoJo, so, this. Interior, mayor's office. JoJo, now in his 20s, sits at a well-appointed office. A plaque on his desk reads, Jojo Mondell, mayor of Townsville. He reads through a report in front of his secretary, Gina. He has a pet monkey sitting on his desk. This is just initial polling data. You've got time to pull ahead. Unlike our prodigal Powerpuffs, Mojo's son Jojo stayed in Townsville. Indeed, his loyalty and dedication to the city had carried him all the way to public office. He was the youngest person ever elected mayor of Townsville. Unfortunately for him, a second term looks unlikely. I've delivered on everything I promised, except free Gelato Fridays, and that's only because the perfect scoop turned out to be a front for meth trafficking. Alessia Lawrence has no experience. She's impulsive and reactionary. Gina, she's exciting. You mean she's not a white man? You know, you hear about reverse discrimination, but until it happens to you... There is one thing that people love more than virtue signaling, Gina. Gina, frozen desserts of Italian origin? No. Security, safety, and I can provide that. Gina, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, Townsville is a candy-colored bubble of privilege and comfort. Ever since the creature tax stopped, we're one of America's safest cities. I don't think people are voting from a place of fear. What about my pet monkey? That was meaningful in the last election. Gina... Post-Harambe, no one cares anymore. One more thing. The Powerpuff Girls are coming to town tomorrow. The color drains from Jojo's face. He's shaken. Tomorrow? All three? Gina, just for the weekend. The Gazette called asking for comment. Tell Frank I said, no comment. That'll be all. Exterior, Townsville Airport curb, Uber pickup, day. Buttercup exits with her duffel. We see Bubbles with her suite of luggage in line for an Uber. She's accompanied by a middle-aged guy with a camera. She spots Buttercup heading over. Here she comes. Start filming. Buttercup, happy birthday, bitch. They hug happily until Buttercup notices the cameraman. What's with Al Maisels over here? Does he work for Bravo? No, I'm making a tasteful doc about my comeback/solo career, which starts with capturing our reunion, which is kind of a big D. Oh, and this is my manager, Ace. When you say reunion, to be clear, you mean like our personal reunion, because you're not interested in a reteam or a reboot of the Powerpuff Girls. I know, even though America would go ripshit bonkers for it. Bubbles, Buttercup, and Ace ride in the back of an Uber. They pass by the old Welcome to Townsville billboard, which now says Jojo Mondell, mayor, with a smiling photo of Jojo. So Mojo's son is the mayor now. Remember what a huge crush he had on Blossom? Weird kid. Hey, you know who we should see while we're here? Sarah. She was always so great to us. Dad blew that one. Has he been dating lately? Do you know? Just rando hookups. You know, science groupies, beaker bunnies, nearsighted hoes, mainly. Suddenly, they look out the window, alarmed. We see a mob of people gathered near the Powerpuff Girls' childhood home. Some are press, some carry signs that say things like, no violence in Townsville. A scant few are fans. Dad alerted the press. Nothing really of consequence happens here. They're just alerted by the press. They ask them questions. Bubbles and Buttercup meet a little girl who has a pet caterpillar, but Buttercup kills it, which causes her to cry. Interior, Professor Utonium's house. Why'd you call all the press? Blossom's gonna freak out, and the last thing we need is another crack in the bell jar. Blossom's been doing fine. She's emotionally fragile. Coming back here is probably triggering for her. Why? Cause she's the one who killed Mojo? I mean, moveon.org. Off camera, we hear a chair squeak. It's Blossom, sitting at the kitchen table. Awkward. Blossom rises to greet her sisters. Come here. Buttercup and Bubbles come in for a long, strong group hug. Drake watches them, pleased. Then he turns to Ace, who has temporarily lowered his camera to observe the reunion. You getting this? The sisters sit in a row on one side of the modern dining table. Drake sits on the other. A gourmet dinner sits before them. The room is full of birthday balloons. Ace films. I can't believe you girls are 25. Wow, the 3Bs back in Townsville. It'll be nice to catch up, huh? Blossom is looking at the red phone displayed in the living room. It's in a glass case, unplugged, like a museum piece. She starts downing a glass of red wine. Yes, and it will be nice to collect the money we earned for the sale of our childhoods. When do we sign? You loved being a Powerpuff Girl. It's not like we're given any alternative. Bloss, you would have chosen PPG no matter what. You were always the first one out the door when that alarm went off. I'm sure it's deactivated now. T-ville is as peaceful as any town USA, and by the looks of it, as boring and homogenous too. I counted 3 Paneras. Actually, I didn't want to bring this up yet, but I have a reason to believe that a darkness may be headed to Townsville. Hobby Lobby. Dad, you don't mean like monsters? I'm afraid I do. Blossom starts quietly freaking out, subtly hyperventilating. She's having a panic attack. I think the city may need the Powerpuff Girls again. Off Blossom, losing consciousness. In an apartment, we see Henrietta seated at a child-sized desk. The song Glowworm plays in the background. She repairs the woolly bear caterpillar we saw Buttercup swat away earlier. Oh yeah, that's the girl from outside the home whose caterpillar Buttercup killed. I guess she's important. It's not a caterpillar, it's a robot. Reveal there are hundreds of such caterpillar robots. Reveal that there are hundreds of such robot pillars crawling all over the room. Henrietta cranks the volume of her record player. Neighbor, off screen. Hey, turn it down. Who should I use for, if Henrietta's gonna be like a big thing in this? Sorry, Mr. Caruthers. Henrietta pushes one of her woolly bears through a wall vent. Interior, apartment directly below, night. Mr. Caruthers, Henrietta's neighbor, 50s, watches UFC on his couch. The woolly bear emerges from his vent and traverses across the couch cushions before crawling into his ear. Mr. Caruthers shakes his head at first, then quickly settles into his new normal. A strange yellow glint in his eyes. Glowworm continues to play faintly as we end Act 1. Interior, Powerpuff Girls' home, kitchen floor. Blossom's out cold. Bubbles and Buttercup hover over her. Bloss, wake up, or we'll leak your nudes everywhere. That worked on you once, to Bubbles. That's what my friends told me the last time I was passed out. All we're doing right now is Professor Utonium showing a PowerPoint slide he made that is monitoring supernatural activity. There's no explanation for why this cluster of people in a 2-block radius doesn't have working internet, except for a mysterious, unusual concentration of high-frequency technology nearby, suggesting evidence of a secret, evil laboratory. The reach of the outage suggests some pretty heavy-duty tech, so I didn't want to get too close. Undermanned, or should I say, undergirled. So you want us to go see if there's an evil lab, based on a thread from Nextdoor about spotty internet. I mean, I did the same thing once. And you're sure this evidence isn't something you staged in order to drum up a comeback for us? Honey, you'd think I'd lie to you? Yes, you lie all the time. Remember when you let that colossal gopher out during sweeps? We were in a ratings hole, and we ended up in a literal hole created by a giant gopher who tried to kill us with a tree trunk. Now that was good TV. Well, I'm gonna pass. Same. Drake pouts. Bubble stands up, turns to her sisters. Guys, how can you turn down an evil recon mission, especially when said mission would make a perfect storyline for my documentary, Bubbles is Back. Not to be confused with your other film, Bubbles on Her Back. Oh god. Come on. It'll be fun. Plus, we haven't hung out in like a decade. I really miss us. Please. Buttercup's warmed by this sentiment. but plays it cool. We do have a day to kill before we get our monies, and maybe there'll be something for me to beat up. Totally. Blossom, evil recon mish. I think I'm just gonna take a nap. Me. Bubbles tries singing Breakaway. Forget it, Bubs. Let her have boring phone sex with her pasty boyfriend. Girls, don't fight. How about Buttercup goes with Bubbles and Blossom stays with me? We haven't had any quality time since you got home. Blossom shuts her eyes, takes a deep breath. When she opens them, she sees young Blossom. Oh yeah, that's a thing she does. Examining chemicals in the BG interior. Blossom's rental car. Day. Blossom drives. Buttercup's in front. Bubbles in the back with Ace. Examining Drake's stats on an iPad while Ace films. Okay, so this potential evil lab dad found is somewhere between Donut Thing and the volcano. Oh, that's interesting. No, it's not. No one cares. The volcano's owned by the Rowdy Rough Boys, 3 brothers who are a failed spin-off version of us. Oh my god, the Rowdy Rough Boys are in this. I'm gonna guess right now that one of them, let's say Bubbles, falls in love with one of the Rowdy Rough Boys. They had no superpowers and they got all Lou Pearlman. If the Rowdy Rough Boys have turned evil in hopes of rebooting their franchise and we stop them, then maybe Townsville will want us back. Bubba, let me tell you something. When we got outlawed by Townsville for accidentally killing a madman and then unceremoniously ditched by Blossom, I was pissed. Blossom shifts in her seat, guilty and annoyed at the dig. But it forced me to reevaluate my life, and I realized how exhausted I was defending myself against misogynistic morons and pretending I was straight for the cameras. Okay. It was fun when it was about fighting baddies, but it was change. That's like the most boring thing they could have done with this thing. I'm just gonna say it right now. Interior, the volcano, day, an Americana dive bar. Buttercup, Blossom, Bubbles, and Ace enter to find the volcano popping. A picture of the Rowdy Rough Boys, Brick, Boomer, and Butch hangs on the wall. Butch, now a super hot bartender, gives Buttercup and Blossom big hugs. Butch gets the Bubbles and frowns, standoffish. Oh no, I don't make anything for the Rowdy Rough Boys. I should have expected that. Where's my hug? Butch, last time I saw you broke off our engagement and told me you'd pawn the ring for drugs. Was that you? Have a drink with us? We're never here and we never will be again. Butch, okay, 1 shot. Okay, so I guess the Rowdy Rough Boys aren't evil in this, which is a fun twist, I guess. I mean, I think that's kind of cool that they have, like, some camaraderie, since, like, they're kind of the only people who can relate with each other in that sort of sense. Butch leaves to grab them drinks. Buttercup makes eyes with a hot girl across the bar. Macy, so she's gonna be important. Maybe evil. Aren't we here to investigate? I'm here to pick up bi-curious townies. You're here to avoid Drake. Bubbles is here to investigate, but she forgot Butch hates her. Luckily, we're dealing with another hate boner, so alcohol helps. Okay, so they have drinks and they're reminiscing and bonding, which is nice. We love those kind of moments. They're getting continuously more inebriated. Bubbles is flirting with Butch. I called it. And Blossom is having fun for like once in her life. And then she runs into the neighbor from earlier, Caruthers, who like got like, I don't know, ingrained with a robot worm caterpillar thing. And he is trying to force Blossom to accept a drink from him. Buttercup notices Caruthers stepping up to Blossom as Blossom clocks the faint yellow glint in his eyes. Off screen, what's going on here? Caruthers turns to Buttercup, then looks back at Blossom. Aren't you those Powerpuff Girls? Oh, of course they had to make that joke somewhere. Powerpuff, no D, like you. Caruthers grabs Buttercup's arm. Blossom's eyes go wide. Oh no. On Bubbles, making out with Butch against the wall, trying to inch her way closer to the do not enter room, just as Caruthers sails across the room, bursting through the do not enter door. Bubbles peeks her head inside. It's a supplies closet filled with storage and pesticides. Buttercup, Blossom, and Ace walk out. Butch physically carries out a flailing Bubbles. Stop! I'm an American treasure. Butch leaves. Bubbles hisses at him, turns to Buttercup. Dude, not cool. But he was a creep, and Blasi was full deer in the headlights. His eyes had a weird glint. I was trying to suss it out. What's there to suss out? His botched cataract surgery? Why do you keep coming at me? I get it. I screwed up. No, Bubbles screwed up. Like, constantly. You left. I'm sorry, okay? What more do you want from me? I want the Elf Blossom. Buttercup becomes emotional. Bubbles nods to Ace to film. You used to boss us around and have a perspective and care. You were our leader, and now you're this weak, closed-off, mopey loser. I think I'm the only one here that actually grew up, and neither of you can handle it. Because you're still beating people up in bars like you did when we were 15, and Bubbles is wearing knee-high socks on Hollywood Boulevard. Bubbles, stop pouting! Buttercup charges Bubbles and Ace to try to get them to shut off the camera. Bubbles steps to her, protecting the camera. Stop whoring out our lives! You guys bungled the investigation. Your dysfunction is all I have. As Bubbles and Buttercup circle each other, Blossom notices a Razor scooter charging station across the street. Blossom grabs the iPad from the car, checks Drake's numbers. Hey guys. Bubbles' eyes go frosty as she drops into her ice breath mode. Ice me and you're going in the dumpster. Guys! I think this is the unusual concentration of high-frequency activity Drake was talking about. Blossom points to the Razor scooters. Buttercup laughs. Oh my god, see, Bubs? He's a sad, lonely quack. Let's go. Buttercup heads to the car. Bubbles sighs, looks to Ace. Let's get some B-roll, I guess. Bubbles looks over Ace's shoulder as he films the charging station at the base of an apartment complex. 3 floors up, we see a figure watching Bubbles and Ace from their window. Interior, Henrietta's lair, night. Reveal Henrietta watching them leave. Her evil lair is directly above the charging station, and is the source of the energy Drake identified. Henrietta turns back inside, surprised to find JoJo sitting in an armchair. Do you break into all the homes of the little girls you hire to do your evil bidding? JoJo notices a woolly bear in his arm, flicks it off. Just the ones who've murdered their parents. Less red tape. How's progress? You know, ups and downs. JoJo eyes Henrietta, less than thrilled with her response. The Powerpuff Girls collect their trust fund in 12 hours. That's how long you have to put 3 of those little bugs in their brains so I can control their minds, make them throw a school bus of kids into a river, and save the day, cementing your re-election. I know the playbook, Juge. Juge? Is that like a spelling error, or is that actually what she calls him? And I love it aside of the saving the kids part, but I just sent my boy Caruthers on a mission and it was no bueno. The mission was try to get a bug into Blossom's ear, but instead, we started a fight with Buttercup. Didn't we? Didn't we? I need more testing. You have 12 hours, or I make you eat every single one of these bugs, turn you into the FBI, and you become the youngest person to ever be executed in America. Got it? Henrietta's speechless, but clearly gets the message. JoJo heads for the door, tripping on a pair of shoes. He fears he looks stupid. He does. So he calls out angrily behind, 12 hours! End of Act 2. Interior, Powerpuff Girls home, Drake's lab, day. Bubbles films Drake as they dig deeper into Drake's theory. I don't see how I could be wrong. The evidence doesn't lie. No. But sometimes people do. Why would I lie about something like this? Because you want us to reunite, Dad. And you know that appealing to my sense of responsibility with this town in danger thing is the only way to get me on board. Oh, speaking of dangerous, this crazy dude came for Blossom Buttercup at the volcano. He had Scorpio energy. Chaotic. We got it on tape. Wanna see? We hear a loud bump upstairs. Blossom jumps, concerned. What was that? As Bubbles pull up the footage, Blossom silently exits. Drake watches her leave, turns to Bubbles. What did I do to drive her away? Well, I mean, just now or in a macro sense. Bubbles, not a day goes by that I don't regret my greatest failure. Japan is a tough market to crack. I'm not talking about the brand. I mean the family. I never thought we'd fracture. We loved being Powerpuff Girls, but sometimes we wanted to be other things too. You know how in Dirty Dancing, Baby is like this big nerd who wants to join the Peace Corps, and then she meets Johnny and becomes a fancy slut, but her dad is like disappointed in her because he thinks she's not a nerd anymore. But the thing is, she's still a nerd. It's just that she's now a nerd and a fancy slut, and it's just too non-binary for Jerry Orbach to grasp. I hated that. Blossom heads upstairs where the bumping sound continues from Buttercup's room, then abruptly stops. Blossom opens the door and finds Buttercup in bed with Macy, the woman she eyed at the bar the night before. They've just finished. Oh God, I'm sorry. It's fine. We're done, right? Macy, I'd say 6 times is enough. Bubbles and Drake enter on Blossom's heels. Guys, no. It's fine. I'm not remotely ashamed. I'm just getting my life, people. And tonight, I finally get access to my trust and I never have to come back to Clownsville again. Macy, what about me? You should come with me. 3-acre farm and chickens. Why are you acting like being here is torture? I didn't raise you like this. Exactly. You raised us to be a franchise, not a family. We don't know how to be together without a shot list and suggested dialogue. Remember how much fun we had when the cameras were off? When were they off? See Ace filming from the hallway. Blossom rolls her eyes. When you're a kid, the stakes are supposed to be low. A kid should be worried about losing their lunch money or getting picked last in PE. A kid shouldn't be worried about cat burglars or giant lizards or accidentally farting on TRL. Carson handled that well. There was always something scary around the corner. It wasn't normal, and we never had the space to process it. You said you created us because you always wanted to be a dad, so why not just make 3 little girls? Well, that would be kinda weird. Blossom shakes her head, frustrated with Drake's response. Macy, I'm late to acro yoga. It's kinda like flying. I'm outta here too. Right, you spent a total of 10 minutes with us and you're already a ghost? Where are you going? I need to talk to a human being who understands emotions. I am a known homo sapien. Exterior, Cerebellum's house. Oh yay. Day. A charming bungalow. Blossom rings the doorbell. Cerebellum, now an attractive redhead in her 40s, answers the door. Blossie, I didn't think you would actually come. Hey Sarah. You still wear the same perfume. Britney Spears Circus Fantasy. Interior, Cerebellum's house. Blossom and Sarah sit down in the cozy den, drink tea and catch up. Sarah's demeanor is warm. She's an earthy big sister type. You know, I was hoping to see all of you. Are my other bees just busy? No, I just really need to talk to someone one-on-one. When we're together, it's like we're suddenly kids again, and it just gets emotional. Yeah, I get it. You girls had a gnarly childhood. I used to fight with your dad about how much was expected of you. You always stood up for us. It's why I replied to your text and not his. Drake really does care deeply about you guys. He just didn't want you to hide your light. He thought pushing you was a form of love. Well, it didn't feel like it, and we were punished for his dream. Have you ever noticed that my dad had just got to continue living here in peace as a beloved eccentric after we were dumped out of town? He lives here, but not in peace. I think he has a lot of regrets about how things went down. He's not a bad guy, Bloss. He can be enraging and oblivious. Trust me, I dated the man for 5 years. But he has a good heart. Kinda sounds like you still love him. Sarah blushes and scoffs as the tea kettle goes off. Sarah gets up to turn it off as Blossom looks at her phone, thinks, then starts typing a text. Interior, Powerpuff Girls home, kitchen, day. Bubbles and Drake sit at the kitchen table, still reviewing footage. They both wear sheet masks and are both flustered. Okay, maybe everyone's internet works, but they're hallucinating that it doesn't because of something in the water, or like aliens. On the footage, Bubble spots Henrietta at the window. That's the same little girl we met in front of the house. Coincidence? Maybe we should look into her. She's like 10. So were you, back when many a villain made the mistake of underestimating my girls. Drake's phone buzzes with a text. It's from Blossom. Very surprised, Drake opens it, then smiles. Your sister texted me. She said if we're still investigating, to look out for the barfly's yellow eyes. Look at that. progress. Bubbles and the professor are just talking. It does mention Drake feeling guilty about the money, which makes me assume that he spent it all on, like, drugs or something. Interior, Henrietta's lair. Day. Henrietta, surrounded by empties of monster energy, builds more woolly bears. Jojo bursts in, impatient. Time's up, Henny. They're not ready. I don't care. Show me what you've got. The main event. Henrietta pulls out a box and opens the lid, revealing 3 special woolly bears. 1 blue, 1 pink, 1 green. So Henrietta makes woolly bears specifically for the Powerpuff Girls, but they just don't reach them through different mishaps, I guess. So all that was for nothing. Interior, Powerpuff Girls' home, living room, day. Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup sit on the couch across from an attorney, Larry, as Drake stands anxiously in the corner. Larry is a typical cheap TV lawyer type. He organizes papers from a briefcase. Ace films, everyone sits in silence. Haven't I seen you on a park bench? Larry, I suppose we're both famous. So, we're looking at about 5 apiece. Right, Drake? Drake watches the girls. Bubbles pulls her beanie up from her ears, hoping she heard correctly. We see the blue woolly bear crawling along the couch, headed for Bubbles' ear canal. 5 million? No way. 500,000? I mean, that feels low. But, Larry, 5,000. I'm sorry, what? Look, this isn't easy for me to say. I saw how hard you girls worked, how brave you were all in those battles, and I wanted to maximize your earnings. So I made some investments. What did you invest in, Dad? Well, some real estate in 2008. And then, fidget spinners. Have you guys heard of Cronuts? The money's gone, and you knew about it? Why did you make us come out here? Because I miss you. And I love you. So the evil lab thing was a lie. No, I truly believe disaster is imminent. You are mentally ill. This is why I don't call or visit. She picks up a vase. Drake instinctively ducks and cowers. I'm sorry, Buttercup. Buttercup hauls off with the vase as if to throw it when a chair crashes through the window. Reveal Bubbles, Hulk-level furious, is the one who threw the chair. What about me? As she angrily gesticulates, she unwittingly flings off the woolly bear. Larry drops the briefcase and runs. The woolly bear heads for Bubbles again, crawling up her leg. I'm the only one who ever put the family and the team first, no matter what. Powerpuff forever, right? I always believed in you and defended you. I guess I'm the idiot you all always thought I was. We didn't think that. I'm out of here. It's relapse time. Drake tries to stop Bubbles as she heads for the jagged hole where the window used to be. Drake puts his hand on her arm. Sweetie. And the woolly bear crawls from Bubbles onto Drake and into his ear. How does no one notice this? Bubbles flies out the window, a blue streak in the sky. Buttercup glares at Drake and flies after her. You were supposed to protect us, and you never did. Not now, not ever. And because of that, I killed Mojo, and it ruined my life. Wasn't it bad enough that you stole our past from us? Now we don't even have futures. Do you even care? Drake is silent. He has a strange yellow glint in his eye. He isn't there anymore, but Blossom doesn't notice it. Cool. Got it. I never want to see you again. She exits as we end Act 3. Interior, jail, day. A close-up of a man's mouth. Officer, Bubbles Utonium. On Bubbles in a holding cell. She opens her bloodshot eyes, plastered with sleep. She sits up, looking rough. Reveal Ace beside an officer outside the cell. He gives Bubbles a brief, compassionate wave. Bubbles stumbles towards him. As they walk down the hallway, Bubbles vomits. Ace pats her back. Interior, Powerpuff Girls' house, kitchen, day. Blossom finishes her coffee, sets the cup by the sink. Stay in the kitchen to reveal a mangled green woolly bear, the one Buttercup disposed earlier. Crawl out the sink. Blossom opens the front door. When she hears a phone ring, she stops, looks inside at the red phone. But wasn't it unplugged? Blossom walks over to it as it stops ringing, confused. Blossom goes upstairs, passing by the green woolly bear, now crawling up the banister. Blossom and Buttercup, have a heart-to-heart, I guess. But the woolly bear ends up crawling into Macy's ear, who's just still here, evidently. Which, good for her. And they finally see the woolly bear after all this time. The girls examine the woolly bear under a microscope. Blossom dissects it, revealing its wiring and a square metal chip. Whoa, it's a robot? Magic. This is an AI chipset. The furry hairs on the outside are actually nanofibers, intended to latch onto something, I'm guessing a brain. How do you know all that? I have a PhD in biotech. Really? You guys didn't know that? Anyway, I think someone engineered those things for mind control. The guy at the bar, Macy, that's why their eyes had that weird yellow glint. They were possessed. Dad was right. Evil is back in Townsville. Bubbles is stunned. Buttercup is still a little skeptical. So someone puts this thing in Macy to get her to what? Attack us? 'Cause that's a bunk plan. I don't know. This thing looks pretty damaged. Maybe it misfired. Dad and I were working on a theory. Buttercup, do you remember that girl we met outside the house? Our biggest fan? The one with the pet caterpillar. Yeah, that was shady. And we spotted her in my dock footage outside the Kano, watching us. I can't believe it. I really thought Drake made it all up. Like that mom who poisoned her kid for Disney tickets. Crazy. Like, think bigger. Suddenly, all three girls get Google alerts on their phones. Are you guys seeing this? What the? Blossom turns on the TV. A breaking news banner reads, Townsville erupts in riots. Chaos. A newscaster reports. The riots started moments ago, the cause of which are still unknown. The girls are in shock as they watch news footage of citizens destroying Townsville. Match that footage to interior, mayor's office, continuous. The TV is on. Jojo looks in the mirror, deciding between two ties, red or blue. Henrietta, surrounded by her woolly bear creations, opens the window. Just so we're clear, now we're gonna loose your woolly bears onto Townsville, let them crawl into people's brains, then turn their agrometer up to 10. Exactly. We need a new plan after your idiot worms incepted the wrong Utonium. Then what happens? I blame the entire thing on Drake. He confesses via Woolly Bear that he's drunk with power, blah blah blah. I arrest him, save the day, and Townsville re-elects me mayor. A fun bonus, Drake rots in prison, and maybe I get to console Blossom. Ew. With that, Jojo picks the red tie. Henrietta sadly watches her woolly bears leave the office out the window en masse. Goodbye, Karen, Jared, Eric, Melania, Donald, Rudy Giuliani, Ted. Interior, Utonium House. What I'm noticing right now is that, like, it keeps jumping between Utonium House and Powerpuff Girls house. Like, there's no consistency between the two, and it's very confusing for me reading this. The girls keep watching TV as the news switches to a press conference. The banner below, Townsville erupts in chaos, mind-controlling robots. Mayor Mondell speaks. Citizens, under the control of these malicious robots, are being forced to act violently toward each other with no end in sight. We believe this is the work of an evil mastermind, Professor Drake Utonium. On TV, news footage of Drake on a rooftop, screaming, "Burn Townsville! All must pay!" Exterior, Townsville streets, various, day. The Powerpuff Girls drive toward their town in their white Puffmobile Sprinter van. Buttercup drives, Blossom is in front, Bubbles in back. The pull-up to the city center. I can't believe we didn't fly. I'm sorry, you know I can't get on a plane without a Xanax. But you can literally fly. They get out the car. We see anarchy in the streets, cars on fire, fights breaking out. They're all possessed. This is like the gathering of the Juggalos. You've been? I was paid to appear. Imagine making a Juggalos joke in the year 2021. The girls keep taking it in. People are fighting, shouting, and destroying property. Fire hydrants have opened, and there's water all over the streets. Okay, they're here. You might want to make that arrest. Interior, mayor's office, day. Jojo is on the phone, exhilarated. All three of them? Even Blossom? Yup. You'll get to see them kick and scream as their dad gets hauled off to jail, just like you put on your vision board, which you should never show anyone, by the way. The gold Lambo is cringe. Jojo smiles, taking in this moment. When his pet monkey screeches, Jojo frowns, his mood darkening. No, it's not enough. I can't squander this opportunity. What do you want me to do, Jojo? I want them to know how it feels to watch their father die. New pain. Interior, Townsville City Center. The Powerpuff Girls head for Drake. On their way there, they can't help but notice the mayhem. Bubbles stops. Wait, guys, what about all these people? They need us. Blossom looks around, conflicted. Buttercup keeps moving, then turns when she sees Blossom and Bubbles haven't moved. Come on! Saving Dad's life, I get. But playing superhero again? Buttercup gestures to the fighting and ruin around them. These are the same normals that kicked us out of here a decade ago. Why would we help them? Blossom sighs, conflicted. Bubbles sees her wavering. Blossom, you were the one who always said we should help people no matter what. Remember? You had the biggest, bravest heart of all three of us. That's why you were the leader. I was the leader because Dad said so. That's not true. I was designed to be in charge, but your annoying type A ass claimed that role. And you owned it. Guys, I know everyone here rejected us for semi-misogynistic reasons, but Townsville is our home, and it's getting destroyed. We have to save it. And Dad. This is our chance to show them that they were wrong about us. Buttercup looks around, taking it in. Look, I hate this town. I'm 50-50 on Drake, but I've got a hard-on for mayhem that won't go down. I'm in. Bubbles smiles, looks to Blossom. She's shaking. No, I have done too much work in therapy to go there. I'm a grown woman now. I have degrees and a boyfriend and furniture from West Elm. I'm not a Powerpuff Girl. You and me both. Blossom starts to have a panic attack, then runs off. Bubbles is about to take off after Blossom. We have to move on. But Bloss, we'll do it for her, okay? It's what she wants even if she can't say it. She was always our conscience. And I was just the attention whore. Hey, you were amazing. Bubbles nods, touched. They take off in the other direction. Exterior, Townsville, sky, overhead. Moments later, possessed Drake is still standing on the rooftop. Bubbles and Buttercup observe from a safe distance. Okay, so when Macy hit her head, it drove the woolly bear out of her. We need to do something like that, but on a mass scale, without, killing people. Right. Bubbles looks around. Her eyes land on a spa with an advertisement for laser hair removal. Her eyes light up. Electrolysis. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I know you don't get the au natural thing, but now is not the time. Bubbles flies to a telephone pole and rips a wire out of the pole, exposing its frayed end. Buttercup smiles, getting it. Oh, sick. We're gonna fry 'em? No, we're gonna lightly shock them. Enough to drive the bugs out, but not enough to kill them. Look, they're all standing in water. Help me grab the pole. They fly over to a telephone pole and begin to uproot it. Interior alley, same. Blossom sits behind a dumpster doing breathing exercises. She closes her eyes and opens them, revealing young Blossom. Hey, why are you hiding? Bubbles and Buttercup need your help. I don't know how to help. I can't do this. I just want a normal life. No one has a normal life. Everybody has a superpower, and everyone has to decide how they're gonna use it. I can't be the hero they want me to be. So be the hero you want to be. Do it for you, on your terms. Now it's time to take a chance, make a change. Oh my god, Kelly Clarkson would have gotten so many royalties from this. And break away. Young Blossom disappears. Suddenly, the ground trembles. Interior, Townsville City Center. Buttercup and Bubbles hold the telephone pole above the crowd. Just touch it to the water and the shock will spread. They lower the pole gingerly. A jolt of electricity surges through the teeming mass standing in the flooded streets. The people are knocked out. Then suddenly, woolly bears are crawling and jumping out of people's ears. Bubbles and Buttercup are stoked. But then, hello, Powerpuffs. Reveal Henrietta on the roof of the building with Drake. The sisters are mid-air, holding a pole aloft. I have complete and total control over him. Right, Professor Quacktonium? Drake nods numbly. I knew you were a fake fan. Nobody's favorite is Blossom. Look, I don't know what you want with our dad, but please, let's talk this out. Girl to girl. You're not a girl. You're a boring grown-up who used to be cool. hang it up, and start a book club. Bubbles lets go of the pole, ready to save Drake, but with the electric current, it's too much for Buttercup alone. Bubbles! Bubbles sees Buttercup needs her help, and helps her with the pole before it crashes to the ground. But the sisters are stuck. We can't drop the pole, it'll kill them all. Let's go for a walk. Drake obediently walks to the edge of the building and falls off. Bubbles and Buttercup are helpless, holding the pole, screaming. Drake plummets towards the ground. Buttercup screams. Bubbles watches in terror as Drake falls. Daddy! Drake drops faster and faster, 30 feet away from the ground, then 20, then 10, when Blossom cuts through the air and scoops him up. Interior, mare's off. Jojo watches from his windows, furious. No, no, no! Sorry I'm late, Dad, but I had to make peace with an old. Drake slaps and scratches at Blossom, still possessed. Stop, stop! Ow! You are so annoying. Blossom lands on the street with Drake, his fists flying. Blossom punches him in the face. His woolly bear flies out of his ear. Blossom stomps it as Drake moans on the ground. That was surprisingly cathartic. Bubbles is stomping out all the woolly bears on the street when Blossom lands beside her. Bubbles gives her a huge hug. Blossie, you saved the day. My babies, my poor babies. Blossom and Bubbles turn to find Henrietta crouched in a puddle, mourning her woolly bears. Bubbles tauntingly stomps one out in front of her. Oops. Henrietta smiles menacingly, slowly standing up. Woolly bears, mount up! Busted woolly bears start to rise up and crawl toward Henrietta as she cackles maniacally, when suddenly Henrietta is electrocuted and flies into a building. Hard. Reveal Buttercup with a live wire behind her. Bud. Way too much. The sisters hover around Henrietta's lifeless body. I don't know, did we just kill a kid? I mean, you killed her. Sometimes you have to kill the child within in order to. No, 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 this is really bad. Then Henrietta starts coughing. Buttercup's eyes light up. Not dead. Buttercup and Bubbles high five. Then they hear cheering. They turn to discover a massive crowd cheering for them. The sisters soak it up, feeling like real heroes again. Exterior, Drake's house, day. In a sweeping reversal of fate, the Powerpuff Girls are beloved again in Townsville. A super bloom surrounds the Utonian home. Townsville residents swing by, leaving gifts. A huge sign is hung across the front lawn. Thank you, Powerpuff Girls. Interior, Drake's house, Blossom's bedroom, day. Blossom standing by the window. She admires signs outside as she listens/watches a Bitmoji. Look, I get it. It's a cool opportunity. I just love our life together. I don't want to ask you to turn it down, but I hope you do. Sorry, doing this on Bitmoji was a stupid idea. Love you. Blossom sighs, then notices something outside. Exterior, Drake's house, day. Blossom opens the front door as someone walks away. Jojo? Jojo turns, smiles shyly at Blossom. I was just leaving you guys a little token of appreciation. Inside, Buttercup looks out the window, watching them. Bubba, come here. Bubbles joins her at the window. What? Whoa! Blossom picks up Jojo's gift. It's an action figure of her, the one we saw Jojo holding in the teaser. Wow, where'd you get this? I actually bought it behind my dad's back when I was a kid. I had to hide it under the bed. Not because I did anything creepy with it, just because he hated you. Oh my god, this is brutal. No, yeah, I got that. I remember. I'm still so sorry, Jojo. It was an accident. Speaking of, I'm sorry about falsely accusing your dad of mass terrorism. Yeah, real egg on your face, huh? Little bit. Yeah, well, I guess we're even. I mean, we're not even. Nowhere close. I just mean, don't worry. Is she flirting? Girl, you think you guys are gonna stay? I don't know. We have to talk it out. Well, I hope you do. Jojo starts to walk away. Jojo, why don't you hate me? It's not for lack of trying. Blossom watches Jojo go, oddly drawn to him. Interior, Utonium house, dining room, night. The sisters talk over each other at dinner, telling Drake a story. Their energy is magnetic and warm, like old times. So, Dad, I come up behind her and zap her. She flies like 20 feet and splats into a wall. And then she starts freaking out like, we totally killed a kid. All of them crack up. Drake slaps his knee. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Good thing they caught her. You know she murdered her parents? Really? Good goss. So, have you girls thought about whether you want to stay in Townsville or not? The girls look at each other. Quiet. Blossom's about to speak when Drake cuts her off. Before you answer, I just want to say, I know you are individuals with full lives and aspirations, boyfriends and roots you've put down, and solo careers, so if picking up your old mantle doesn't feel like life anymore, I want to honor that. The girls are shocked by Drake's uncharacteristic clarity. We sure we got that bug out? For your information, I saw Sarah today, and she gave me some very good advice. You know she still has a crush on you, right? We'll discuss Sarah later. For now, you girls need to decide what you want to do. If you need me, I'll be in my lab. Drake leaves. A beat. Okay, moment of truth. We in or we out? Oh, and they just sing Breakaway yet again. Again, I hope Kelly Clarkson would have gotten royalties for this. I would have wanted this to be made for that reason alone. Interior, Powerpuff Girls home, Drake's lab, continuous. Again, why the inconsistency of what they're calling this place? Drake hears the girls singing upstairs and smiles. He peers into a microscope, examining a defunct woolly bear robot. But he's doing more than just examining it. He's repairing it. The bot wriggles back to life and Drake smiles. He walks to a cabinet, revealing a hidden door. He opens it, walks inside. Lights flicker on as Drake places the bot in a glass cage, surrounded by mysterious experiments and specimens. As he exits the lab, he looks at a picture on his wall, a black and white photo of himself with Bubbles, Buttercup, and Blossom as babies. He looks at his girls. Guilt-ridden. Interior, Utonium House, night. Close on, a 2000s action figure of Blossom as the girls continue to scream, sing, and dance in the background. Match 2. Interior, Mayor's office, night. A camera feed that JoJo watches. The action figure has a secret camera inside. A scowl on his face. His pet monkey watches the feed beside him, eating a banana. I'll find another way to win re-election. We took them out once. We can do it again. Right, Dad? Oh my god, the monkey's his dad. I mean, of course the monkey's his dad. Oh my god. The monkey jumps up and down, screeching with fervor as we cut to black. The end. So, the question is, would I have wanted this to be made? The answer is no, but there is an asterisk there. Hi, it's me. I'm editing this right now, and I went to the end, and I was like, I don't really like how I gave my thoughts at the end of this. I was still pretty sick when I filmed that whole reading, and after, the collective 2.5 hours of doing that, I was pretty delirious, so I just kind of wanted to elaborate more on my thoughts on what I thought of the actual script and, the potential of the show should it have actually been made. I do think the script itself was pretty bad. I think in terms of concept, the concept is there, and there are nuggets of, good potential stuff. I definitely think the potential was there. I just think the execution was where it all went wrong, and that's basically what they said when they passed on the initial pilot and said they were going to rework it. I do think they were kind of misguided because I think they said it was too campy when, in my opinion, I think it should have been more campy because it's the Powerpuff Girls live action TV show about them being 20-somethings with trauma. I think, them hiring Tom Kenny as the narrator is a perfect decision in that way. They should do more of those kind of stuff. I don't know if he was going to be on for the entire show or just the pilot, but I think that's the kind of stuff that's what we would want, kind of the live action Scooby-Doo movies, make it a live action cartoon. That being said, the dialogue for the most part was pretty bad. I think, it was trying to be quippy in ways, when it tries to be too hard to be quippy, kind of the Buffy style of writing, even though I really like Buffy. Buffy's one of my favorite shows. I think the whole Dirty Dancing monologue was just dumb. And a lot of the stuff, a lot of the critiques it tried to make was very on the nose, making JoJo a men's rights activist basically, they were fully on the nose with that, and not even there was nothing clever to say about it. I think there was a motorcycle going on, so in that whole time, and I think the characterization of the girls themselves is questionable at best. I think one of my issues with it is that they did the most obvious thing with the characters when it came to turning them into adults. Blossom being a type A, like, overachiever with, like, 5 different degrees, I think it said. Bubbles being a washed-up Paris Hilton-esque reality TV show star. And then Buttercup being, like, gay and aggressive. Like, that's the most obvious thing you would do with those characters. And, you know, obviously there's, like, something to be said about staying true to the character as they were presented in their original source material. But I think, again, not to go compare this to Riverdale, but I do love Riverdale. I think the way they turned the characters into, like, you know, edgier versions of them was really smart. Betty is still the girl next door, but she also has, like, all this pressure and she wants to break free from her girl next door image. Veronica was the mean girl. Like, she was the classic Veronica Lodge from the comics in her old life, but ever since her scandal, you know, she is trying to reform and trying to be a better person, that kind of stuff. So, but in this, it kind of seemed like they were just like extensions of who we would know them as from the animated show. And, you know, there's just nothing exciting about that. You know, it's like what you would expect them to do. I think to that point, turning Professor Utonium, who in the show was always such a loving father and loving support system, maybe a bit absent-minded at sometimes, but he always had the girl's best interests at heart. I think turning him into like a manipulative person who just takes advantage of the girls and their celebrity is just really like wrong in a way. It is such a genuine, you know, father-daughter relationship that you don't really see all that much on television in this way. And I think just turning him into like, you know, this washed up essentially manager for them who took advantage of them in their most vulnerable years is just all the wrong approach. I think they still could have done the disillusioned 20-somethings, you know, with a traumatic childhood approach without having the professor be basically an antagonist in their younger years. I think it would have been really interesting if the professor really still was this loving father figure, but he had to balance that with the fact that his daughters were superheroes and essentially protecting the city. There is some interesting tension there. You know, he tried his best to be a good father, but at the same time, you know, you can only do so much when your daughters are facing this kind of trauma on a daily basis. I just think turning him into this bad father at the end of the day, like not a good father. Yes, someone who's trying to, you know, repent, I guess for lack of a better term, but I just don't like that. And I feel like I just need to talk about this, but them casting non-white actors for 2 of the 3 Powerpuff Girls, and, you know, Professor Utonium as well, that's not an issue at all. Like, that is, like, not even close to being an issue with this show. It's kind of like Velma, not to get into that discourse at all. I'm not have no interest in doing that, but there's a lot of problems with that show, but making a majority of the main cast non-white is not a problem in the slightest. Like, there's nothing about these characters that, you know, fundamentally changes if they were white. I mean, maybe they wouldn't be adored as celebrities, but, you know, again, that's like not an issue. So, you know, if people have an issue with that, if that's like their main issue with the show or this pilot, then, you know, that's not the kind of thing I'm here to discuss. But I do think there is some, you know, questionable decisions made regarding that. I think making, you know, the Black Powerpuff Girl, the aggressive one, the aggressive and violent one, is certainly a choice, considering that is a stereotype that Black women already have in Hollywood and media properties. So, you know, that's not great. And even to a lesser extent, Blossom, who is played by Chloe Bennett, or was played by Chloe Bennett, who is half Asian, I think, making her this like overachieving type A 5-degree type of person is, you know, again, questionable. So while I don't have any sort of issue at all with them, you know, changing the ethnicities of the Powerpuff Girls, I do worry how that would have been handled should it have been made it into a full show. That being said, I do agree. I do agree with what I said earlier. Like, I don't think this was a good script. I'm glad that it didn't get made into a full TV show, but should it have been made into a full TV show, I do think I would have watched it, at least like a few episodes, just to see what they would have done. Like, how do you make something like this, you know, into a TV show in live action, especially on a TV budget? And, you know, the CW is pretty infamous for its lackluster special effects on its TV shows. I mean, most broadcast television is, to be honest. But I would have been interested. I can't say that I wouldn't have been, like, you know, morbidly curious. I am someone who watched all of the first season of that Bad Wings Club show on Netflix. I'm going to absolutely watch that Casper, the Friendly Ghost TV show they're making on Peacock. Like, I am trash. Like, I fully realize, like, this is my trash. Trashy teen dramas and young adult dramas are basically my trash anyway, but doubly so when it's based off of a, you know, beloved children's property. I just think it's so funny half the time, even if it's bad. But yeah, that's really, I didn't really like how I presented my thoughts in the original clip. I really don't think I presented them at all. Again, I was like coming off of a cold/sinus infection and, you know, an hour of filming that day, so it is what it is. But that was the CW's Powerpuff Girls, and most disappointingly, I never had an opportunity where I could use him. Remember when I said I was making this because I needed something that would have been like a quick edit, because I have a very clip-heavy project? Come to find out that I had over 2 hours of footage. To be fair, it was an easy edit because it was just cutting up the footage and not like adding any clips or anything or B-roll or anything, but yeah.